when last we left our intrepid adventurers, they had successfully defeated the giant pile of loot and turned the pile of loot into a corpse. Ta-ta-da! Which didn't fade away.
Yeah, I kept threatening them that when they killed it was going to be Final Fantasy style. It was like... or it
sink into the sand or something like that. But no, it didn't. He didn't literally have a list of all of the magic items in it, but I presume it is a lot.
Mm-hmm. I didn't have any prep time last week, but I think there might just be an opportunity to shop from it.
Yeah.
Basically just get something you want.
That would be awesome. So, yeah. After we successfully finished killing this monster, there were still some Ood survivors from the caravan, and they had all these chests of wizard powder D reagent. And we offered, or we told them, we're here, from your boss, and we want to help this caravan get through.
Well, they knew because they got sending.
And so, in order to expedite things as much as possible, we were going to take as many of the crates or chests of reagent with us as we could on our giant eagles, and fly back to the Ood city of Impossible. We're gonna fly this stuff back, and so they're like, okay, sure, and they give us 3 of the chests. We need 2. 2 is the minimum for our wizard powder D needs.
Thank you.
But we were able to fit 3 on the eagles, so we figured we'll take some extra.
Couldn't you put it all in the basement?
That stuff doesn't react well with extra-dimensional spaces.
Right.
It doesn't even react well with the ritual I use to try and boost the speed of the eagles. It sort of skips in and out of the Shadowfell or whatever the equivalent is.
Yeah, they did some arcana. I let them do some arcana before they spent the cost of the Shadow Step spell. That basically the first time they Shadow Step, the chests are just going to be left behind. So... they had to fly the eagles manually, which was not part of their plan because they took a long, circuitous route, and they were scared they were going to have to cut back across. But it turns out they could still get back, and it only took them 2 days to get back.
Yeah. So we're starting to cut it close. When we get back, let's see what happened. I know we stopped off at a camp since it was a 2-day trip to get back. We camped for a bit. So we returned to the Ood city of Impossible, and we went and talked with what's his face, the guy who's the bootlegger. Oh no, I completely missed. There wasn't significant thing.
I was thinking of the first camp out, and then you guys flew for a night and were by yourselves.
Right, we were by ourselves. There were no Ood around to keep an eye on us or chaperone us and be the adults. So we were like, okay, so are we going to crack these boxes open and see what's inside? And everyone was like, no, I'm a good boy, I'm not going to do that. And then Hank was like, okay. So he was curious.
It was funny because he kept debating. He's like, no, Hank wants to, but he knows better. He won't do it. Everyone goes to bed. He's like, screw it. Hey, Cricket, can you open the chest?
So Cricket goes to the chest, as commanded.
I think he had a big fight in his head between Hank and Dastria.
Yeah.
The 2 souls in his head. One knows better than the other doesn't.
And the one who doesn't keeps winning these arguments. I don't know why. But anyway,
it was funny because all the players wanted to. None of the characters did.
Cricket wanted to, but she wasn't going to. But now she's ordered to, so she gives it a shot. Each of the chests has 4 padlocks on it. So she busts out her thievery and completely flubs the roll and wrecks one of the locks. It's now fused. It won't open. Oh, crap. Well, there's 3 other chests. We don't want to just smash the locks off, because that's a little bit obvious.
And they can't use knock, because it's obvious that is not going to...
Yeah.
They can't tell if there's magical wards or anything on this chest, but anytime they did anything magical, it wasn't good.
Those reagents were very unstable. So I went to the next box, and I tried its first padlock, and I completely wrecked that one as well. I'm unable to roll above 5. It's ridiculous. I have a decent thievery skill. I'm just rolling abysmally. So One more shot at this. Go to the next box. I roll 17, 18, 19. You know, I'm just pop, pop, pop. And then the last one, just to make absolutely sure, Hank loans me a magic item that lets me add a D8 to any D20 roll in there. I got like a 15 or something. So I added that and popped that one open too. So just pop, pop, pop. There we go. Got all the locks off. And then Cricket tells Hank, you know, I should open this in case there's a trap or something. So she does. And we see what's inside.
What's inside?
Bones. They appear to be from some kind of humanoid. They are completely super duper saturated with magic. We can't tell what species they are. We wake up Serendipity, Big Gold Strider Malore, top of our tower, Shepherd Stealth Strategy time, to take a look. She can't identify them either. We're making terrible rolls, though.
Well, also, there was a big penalty because they didn't want to necessarily touch the bones. So I was like, do you want to touch them to investigate them or not? But eventually they made an Arcana check or something, and they realized it'd be probably okay to touch the bones as long as you have no ongoing magical effects on you, including any magic items that give you boosts or anything, right? So just for safety, Cricket completely strips naked and then starts like rummaging through the bones to like try to figure out what species they're from.
Yep. Hank told her to. So later on we were like, yeah, Hank ordered Cricket to strip, and she did. That was right.
Now, are you an ongoing magical effect?
I pondered that. It turns out no.
Otherwise, I think Ood would have trouble handling, because Ood are magical.
Yeah.
But they're not magical creations.
Alright, so
we're like, okay, bones. We don't know what these bones are from. We keep guessing they're probably Ood bones or something like that, and it's all a dark secret, and they do horrible rituals or whatever, but we don't know. And we don't want to investigate so much that we'll leave traces that we're investigating. So we lock it back up. And I wouldn't be surprised if whatever these things are the bones of, food or whatever, they go extinct in the apocalypse. So, yeah, moot. My hope was that we would figure out how to make wizard powder D, and then we could bring that knowledge to the future.
Serendipity did do some arcanaing on it, and she figured that like she could sense they're just overloading everything magical around them, and she figured she could trigger something that was like reminiscent of the overload she's expecting from every book that's going to kill all the wizard casters to turn the bones into powder, disintegrate them. But it would be, she would have no idea how to control it. Like, she's like, I think I could figure out how to turn these into powder, but it would probably level like a 10 square kilometer area in the process. So, and of course the Ood use like a massive laboratory to do it. So,
right.
So, we don't have the secret of wizard powder D. We do have some clues. Might prove useful someday, might not, who knows.
Were they humanoid bones?
Yeah. They were sort of smashed up, so it was a bit hard to tell.
But they found skulls and pelvises and like bits and fragments, mostly fragmented. They know that they're about human size, so it's not like a
dragon bone.
Yeah, they're not gnomes. But they didn't do well on their nature checks, so they just know they're humanoid.
Yeah. So we seal it back up, and we headed off to deliver these things.
The rest of the party discovered it because they decided they better fix those locks that they'd broken. So, but they couldn't cast Make Whole because it would cause the bones to blow up. So Hank smashed the locks off with his hammer, took them away, then Serendipity cast Make Whole, and they put them back on the...
Yeah. So
that's when everyone realized
the smashing of locks, and they're like, "Hey, what are you doing?" It's like, "Well, we have to fix these locks, so I have to smash them off of the locks so we can go and fix them." And they were like, "Well, that's Hank logic for you." But yeah. Nothing much came of it in the end. But we now have an unbroken record for opening boxes we're not supposed to.
Mm-hmm.
That's important. So, we deliver the reagents to this Ood guy. And he's like, okay, excellent. Thank you muchly for this. Thank you for saving the caravan, etc. I'll start getting to work on this. It's going to be, 2 weeks? A week? Something like that?
Yeah, 2 weeks.
2 weeks. And we're like, can you expedite things? And he's like, well, I can cut some corners, but there's a risk of ruining the batch. So Aurora, she has this ability that lets her predict D20 rolls. And so we spent a cinematic point to be able to extend this to predicting whether, if he expedites the batch, will it work or not. And she said, yeah, it'll work. And so we told him, we got a pretty good feeling about this. Go ahead, take the risk, expedite the process. If you ruin a batch, we'll pay for it. We don't have to worry about that because we know he won't. Aurora told the future. And clearly, time is immutable. So, anyway. So then we had the next phase in our plan. We got the hard part over with, delivering these things without letting him know that we opened the box. Mm-hmm. The next part is the easy part. We just have to delay the apocalypse by about a month. Not stop it, but delay it. Important that we don't stop it. So we'd done a little bit of investigating into this earlier. There's this magic item called a cortex, which is sort of like a central server for the magical effect of this internet thing that they're trying to do. And if we can sabotage that, they have a backup that they're working on, but it's not going to be ready for a month.
I'm good for now.
So all we have to do is sabotage this thing. And that way we won't clue them in as to what's wrong with the thing, but it'll delay them long enough for us to get the sigil fixed and get out of here. So we have to figure out how to get to this cortex. The Ood company that's making this is called Library of Libraries Incorporated.
I just made up off the top of my head, unfortunately.
LOL. Yeah. I just love the vision now of the final moments of the Ood civilization where every screen is flashing LOL. And then
Maybe that's it. Someone posts LOL for the first time and it has a bug with the company's name. It's a special case.
Amalgam of libraries would also be good.
Nope, too late.
That's knockoff.
AOL.
Yeah. So yeah, LOL is going to destroy the Ood civilization. But anyway, so we start investigating how we're going to get at the cortex and how we're going to sabotage it. Now, in the very first few sessions of this campaign, 2-3 years ago, something like that, we were in an Ood ruin. This Ood ruin. We're in the same city that we started out the campaign in. Thousands of years from now, it's a ruin buried underneath near the great chasm of chaos and all kinds of stuff like that. And so we've been here before, and we've explored the place before, and we actually discovered a cortex, not the cortex that we're after, but a different one. And it had been infested with these weird magical energy worm things that were making it go haywire. And now that we're in the present of the Ood civilization, we found out what those worms are. They put them in their coffee. Because they give them a buzz. They're like magic parasites, but if you magically neuter them or something, then they are sort of they just give a buzz to a magic user. So we settle on a plan. We know that you can wreck a cortex by putting these worms in it. And they're worms that are around, so it wouldn't be sabotage. It'd be oh man, someone spilled their coffee in the cortex. Essentially.
Jenkins!
Yeah. So we're this is perfect. we need to go and get some of these coffee worms, unneutered coffee worms, which aren't technically legal to have in the city because they're magic parasites, but there's underworld stuff.
Yeah, they're not that hard to smuggle in because they're not really looking for them. People don't really usually want them.
Yeah.
So Aurora decides to see if she can find out the best way to smuggle them in. She does it streetwise, which
rolls 40-something.
Yeah. So she comes back and she's like, "Oh yeah, I found out they smuggled them in. I met a smuggling ring. Oh, by the way, here's a box of them."
And they gave them to me for free because I was so nice.
Yeah, well, first one's free. Then she discovered a smuggling ring where like teenager Ood use them, and then they're because it disables their magical ability and makes them feel really dumb, and so they like get together on the weekend and take worms.
Yeah. So yeah, that part of the plan is pretty easy. We now have the stuff. The next bit is we have to sneak into the facility and introduce them into the cortex, which will require an Arcana check. So we're going to need someone who's good with Arcana to get in there.
Because you can't really just dump them in. It would overwhelm them. They'd die.
Yeah.
You have to carefully place them so they don't die.
So we start trying to work out the next part of the plan. We case the joint, LOL headquarters. It's right by
a place they wanted to go anyway. They've wanted to go ever since they got here. Salty, fatty, tasty.
Yes. In the ruins where we were before, we went to a ruined mall, and there was a food court there, and there was a food vending machine that was still in operation, called Salty, Fatty, Tasty. And it extruded this awesome stuff that was like really salty and fatty and tasty. And we wanted to visit it before the apocalypse now that we're here. So we went to the mall. LOL headquarters is like attached to the same building, so it was pretty good. We were able to case the joint and go to visit Salty Fatty Tasties. And there was a bunch of other machines there that were in operation that weren't after the apocalypse. So we were able to say, hey, which varieties do you recommend and stuff like that. And the guy running the place, the Ood running the place, was like, yeah, you should try this and that and whatever. And there was a beverage that was available. What was it called?
It was called Super Delicious
Taste Sensor.
Yeah, Super Delicious Sweetness Sensor Explosion. Something like that. No, Sweetness Pleasure Sensor Explosion.
Yes. And so Hank was like, I want. and the guy was like, you sure this is an Ood drink? It's for Ood, He's like, I want it. Give me a large. And then supersize it.
The guy by the gun was just like, you sure you know what you're doing? Yes. It's like, just go easy. I chug it.
He just slams it back. And then it's like, as Hank explained it, was like the end of 2001 with all the
it's full of stars.
It's full of sweetness.
Yeah, everything just is like the most delicious, but it's just so much you can't handle it.
It's like magically synthesizing taste buds everywhere it touches as it goes down.
It's like delicious sweetness inside of his stomach, and he's just sort of like standing there stunned. And the guy behind the counter like points to the manager, and they're like, he chugged it, didn't he? And so then the guy takes him aside and sits him down and starts explaining, okay, you'll be okay. You probably won't be able to taste anything for about 2 weeks. And, one of the symptoms is when it comes out the other end, it's going to taste really good, and that's not as good as you might think. It's very disturbing. So just, that's what to expect. And Hank is just like,
And Cricket is there, and this is the second time that Cricket has had to tend to a party member who has overindulged in a beverage of some kind. It's becoming her thing. So while all that is going on, Aurora is doing her thing. She's using her insane charisma and her insane diplomacy. She finds some LOL employee who's in the mall eating whatever. And she starts doing the getting to know him thing. Oh, she's disguised as an ood, I think. Right?
Yeah, everyone
we're all
was disguised as dudes in case the joint.
Yeah. And so, so she winds up, basically, it turns out he's like some low-level technician or whatever, but he's bragging about how he practically runs the place. And she's being all vapid airhead ood. You know, she's got her brain, and she's like, I'm wondering if they put lipstick on those things or whatever, and put makeup on her brain. And so, he talks up how big a high-level engineer he is. And she's like, oh, can you get me in and show me around? Because it turns out the security system for their place will allow in spouses and girlfriends.
Yeah, he kind of got sort of awkward. He's like, well, I can show you around, but it only will let you in if you're my girlfriend.
Yeah.
Maybe you just made that up. No.
Yeah. So now she's officially dating this guy. And it's only going to allow one person in, and we need to get someone in there with Arcana, and Aurora is not Arcana heavy. So we had to start thinking about ways to, like, okay, we've got a wedge in their security. Now we have to widen it enough to get people in. Mm-hmm. So what we ultimately decided on the plan was we're going to put the rest of the party in an extra dimensional space and have Aurora carry them in.
Right.
And then once we're inside, we'll let them out, and Cricket will come out and disguise herself as Aurora Ood.
Because they're both the same. She's already in disguise anyway.
Yeah.
So.
And then she'll go, like she went to powder her brain or whatever. And so then Cricket will come out and drug the guy, and then put worms in the cortex. And then, next day they'll be like, oh man, this low-level technician came in here with a girlfriend or whatever, and he spilled coffee in the cortex. You're fired, Jenkins. We're going to have to wait a month before we destroy the world. Great. And everything will work out great. That's the plan. It's going to go perfectly. Nothing will go awry. And everything will be safe. So, since we basically sorted all that out, we started thinking about other things. We are in...
Because they got to do it because it wasn't a good night tonight.
Yeah.
Because people are working late.
Yeah.
But he's gonna meet Aurora for dinner tomorrow night, and after dinner they're gonna go to the office.
So we had a little time. We did some shopping, obviously. We tried not to look like tourists. But that was very hard because...
Because there's all these magical toys. I'm like, there's whatever kind of weird magical toy they probably have. They all bought beam shots because they would just be on sale.
It's like we're like Spider-Man now. We can all.
I didn't really want the whole party to have beam shots, but I really couldn't have any excuse for them not to.
Yeah. It's going to be crazy.
They found like a magical rowboat that you can row through the air, and they're like, don't look like tourists, and there's Croesus going down the aisle of the ball.
But the thing that really...
Tourist is a great thing to look like.
Yeah. The thing that was getting me, though, is we're in this ruin that we know that our first level selves are going to visit. I was there. I know exactly where I'm going to look for loot in this ruin. I could leave a note. In a couple of weeks or a month, Apocalypse will wipe this place out. The note will stay there. I will be along in a few thousand years. I know I'm going to lift this thing and look inside for loot. I'm going to find a note that I left for myself. What should we tell our past selves? Should we tell our past selves anything? And so there was a big debate about whether we should do anything like that. And most everyone was like, no, we shouldn't, because this is a really bad idea. I wanted to try it. I want to see what happens. I think A, if it works, we can really accomplish a lot, and B, if it doesn't, we'll learn a lot. Or be wiped out of existence, in which case it's moot. So, there's no downside. So, what we eventually settle on, Croesus, oddly enough, is the one who decides we're going to try tampering with things. He wants to save Aderon. We had another party member earlier in the campaign. Serendipity, Van Gulshard, Lord Topper, Tower, Shepherd, Soul, Strides Through Time was not in the party. It was a dryad named Aderon. He was Shannon's character before John got the taste of blood and became a killer DM.
Yeah, it's the first character I'd ever killed as a
Yeah, we got into a big fight with Captain Ultimate Fist Punch McAwesome. And he was flying by on his crazy gnomish flying machine dropping bombs. And he bombed Aderon to death. And
Aderon was made of wood and caught on fire, and it didn't go well.
Yeah.
Just imagine this guy looks like Bison.
I wouldn't be surprised if he's got enormous epaulets and like just...
He comes by in his flying machine, kills Aderon, and then drops a bunch of leaflets, courtesy Captain Ultimate Fist Punch McAwesome.
Now, most D&D parties would swear eternal enmity on this guy and hunt him to the ends of the earth, and he'd be the new bad guy of the campaign and stuff. We forgave him and moved on. Because, he had a valid reason for bombing that encampment we were in, It was whatever, Things happen. But anyway, Croesus decides he wants to try and save Aderon. And so he has Cricket write up a letter to that end, to herself. Because Cricket knows certain secrets that she is forbidden to tell anyone, even the other party members.
Right.
The secrets of her previous owners.
They're all done in separate sheets, so...
Great.
So she can use that as a sort of a passphrase thing to let herself know, yes, this really comes from you, because no one else could possibly know this stuff.
Also with an ancient root room.
Yeah, that helps. But of course, it's next to the Chaos Rift, and so there's a lot of
Trickery.
And we're gonna meet up with Riproar.
Yeah.
We haven't met up with him at the point when I'm going to discover the note.
Well, you will by the time you need to act on it. So.
Yeah. I think it'll be after Henley's dead, though, so we can't save him.
Robert, or Hank, I guess, was really debating another thing, because he was like, I'm gonna write a letter that says "Screw you, Rip Roy, love Hank," and leave it somewhere that he can find it before he ever meets me. And he wrote off the note, got it all ready. It's like, no, I know better.
It's funny because if we had done that, that's probably why Ripper would have hated Hank in the future.
Yeah, I wasn't thinking it would be many Jenga blocks because it doesn't really change much.
So leaving the note, I left the note, and that was an 8 Jenga block pull.
Ooh. Well, but it was only really 3 because there was 5 already pulled.
Yes.
And it mattered that because one of the big issues was that Aurora came with Aderon, and she would have left with him if he left, because they're like, as soon as you get out of the room, you should leave the party and run away, right?
Yeah.
And so they added some stuff to the note to make sure you try to convince Aurora to stay. And that made a big difference to how many Jenga blocks they had to pull.
Yeah. And also a lot of this was, as I explained to Croesus, this is the big advantage
yours was a
of
southern
having
charm.
domestics relative to having golems or unseen servants or something like that.
So I'm just going to swap it.
They are clever and have their own initiative.
Right.
So the note was basically like, this is what we need to have happen. Figure out how to have it happen.
Right.
And so it's up to past Cricket to figure out how to manipulate some of these things. But we gave her the information about what's going to happen to Aderon and how he needs to survive that. And it'll be interesting to see what happens when we get back to our present to find out what has changed. Assuming we get back to our present.
So they just left it in a place they knew they'd search in, one of the back
Well,
service.
Cricket did. I don't think the rest of the party knows yet that Cricket did this, because Croesus ordered her to.
Right. That is a really circuitous race from the dead.
Yep.
Yeah.
If it works, we can do it again. You don't need to go that far back in time to cover all that.
Right.
So Cricket might wind up being the one with all the secrets after all, because she's the one that keeps receiving these letters from the past. Like, you are ordered to do these things, okay.
I guess your letter will have to say who ordered you to do it too, because
Oh yeah. It has to be a legit order.
2141?
well, it helps that
So Cricket will have known all along that they could do time travel, but she had to keep it secret. I'm retroactively becoming Anthologue.
Yeah.
Oh man.
but you don't necessarily have to say that you can time travel. It could just be like,
Yeah.
although you do need it to be an order
Yeah.
from someone.
It is pretty funny. Like in the future, you'll recognize these people as your owners. And
Well, no, I'm already at that point
Okay.
in the ruins.
But I guess it is critical that Croesus is both in the party now and was then, because then you can give an order from him. If there was like, for example, if Serendipity gave you an order for past Cricket,
Interesting.
there's no reason that past Cricket should obey that order, right?
Serendipity could order me to try and trick past Cricket into
Yes.
doing that, though.
Yes.
Wow. I sure hope this stuff doesn't happen, because it's brain bending. I have no idea how Cricket is going to interpret these things. She's going to be totally like, I really need to go back to the Temple of Freedom and get an update on my firmware.
Well, it's bones in a box. They're magical. Very magical bones. In a box that we said that we wouldn't open. Pretty sense of deja vu.
Well, Aderon never warned me about dating someone with tentacles on their face, so I guess it's okay.
We're gonna do it. We're gonna change the dream. I told Cricket to go change the dream for me. Maybe if I get the dream to change the dream, then the dream will change. That's logic. I've been talking to Pan Oplin, and I know logic now.
Oh, I've made a terrible mistake, but it's so... I don't have any regrets. This is... It's delicious. It's so wonderful. And yet, I'm in such agony because I drank it all. I was warned against this. I did it anyway. I'm not going to be able to taste anything for a little while, except for this. And everything I do is going to be delicious. Everything. Even the gross things. Oh, my flavors. This is wonderfully terrible.